Father Roger.
Hi, my name is Roger Ault. I'm John's dad. I thought I would take just a minute to let you know how an individual born and raised in suburban Chicago ends up in Concordia-Moorhead. It started in Lutheran College night. We had gone all around the room, and John had a bag and was collecting information from colleges he thought he was interested in. Concordia was right at the exit, and they were trying to give him some more material, and he kind of had it, very frankly, and he bypassed them, and I said, John, go ahead, take their information. He goes, no, I don't want that. I go, yeah, just take it. So he obliged me. 2 to 3 weeks later, John came to me and said, you know, I think I would like to include Concordia in my college visits. And I'm going, oh, what was I thinking? 600 miles, 12-hour trip. The only thing I knew about Moorhead and Fargo was that it's cold and windy. Well, John applied, and it was his only application. Being an educator, I said to him, John, you really need a backup plan. John goes, nope, I am going to Concordia. So he applied, and he didn't hear, and he didn't hear, and he didn't hear. We got back from our annual ski vacation in Colorado, and there was a big, thick envelope from Concordia addressed to John. He took that envelope and went back to his room, and a few minutes later came out, and he was beaming from ear to ear, said, hey, I'm accepted, and the rest is history. So after John got his master's degree from Ball State, he accepted a position in Chicago, married Chris, who was also a Concordia graduate. A little while later, they moved to the Twin Cities area, where Chris and John had their 2 children, Allison and Eric, both which are currently attending Concordia. But the lure of Concordia, Moorhead, Fargo in the north was just a little too much, and it brought them back to the area, to West Fargo, where they currently reside. Concordia was a great fit for John. It was a great fit academically. It was a great fit athletically. It was a great fit socially. Had a great faculty. And he just had a great 4 years, even though it was 600 miles away. So John, I am honored and proud to present you for induction into the Concordia College Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Watching the video, I forgot to come up here. My name is Garrett Larson. I'm the head track and field coach, and I'm here to read John's citation. Actually, John and I are only 1 year apart. I was at another Lutheran school in the conference, and I remember John competing. And some of the references that are in this, I remember some of those times competing against Concordia. There were some kids that I got to know just a little bit. John wasn't one of them, but I had some connections back in the day. Here's John Ault's citation. John Ault is one of Concordia's most decorated track and field athletes. The Algonquin, Illinois native was a 3-time indoor All-American in the shot put and weight throw, and was the first Cobber men's track and field athlete to earn indoor All-American honors. He owns the school record in the hammer throw, and is second all-time in the indoor weight throw. He was a 6-time indoor All-MIAC and 4-time outdoor All-MIAC honoree. Under the tutelage of throwing coach Yvonne Vaplin, who's here tonight, Ault discovered the deep personal motivation needed to succeed in track and field. Although he had already earned All-American honors, it wasn't until he strived to beat a fierce conference rival head-to-head to win the MIAC Weight Throw Championship that he understood the difference between merely winning compared to becoming a better athlete every day. Ault completed a master's degree in information and communication sciences from Ball State University. During his professional career, he has been a technology manager and consultant for Accenture, a network solutions manager for Pearson Education, and is currently a principal in technology consulting with Beil in Fargo. Ault has been a volunteer at his church in West Fargo and has helped with missions for youth and an adult mission trip to Jamaica. He and his wife, Chris Rieger, a 93 grad, are the parents of 2 cobbers, Allison and Eric. In recognition of John's outstanding achievements as a cobber track and field athlete and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct John Ault into the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame.
First, thanks to everybody for coming, especially to my parents, Roger and Eleanor here from Illinois, my mother-in-law, Margaret from Grand Forks, obviously my wife, Chris, my daughter, Allison, and my son, who's actually not here. He's getting ready for a band concert this evening. So I guess cobbers through and through, you could say. So what I decided to talk about for this evening was when I started thinking about it, I thought, well, what really, I wanted to cover the things that I'm thankful for from my Concordia track and field and kind of my overall cobber experience. So I have 4 or 5 things that I think are very good examples of that. So the first one is my education. And where's Dr. Forde? So Dr. Forde was literally my first class when I stepped onto Concordia, and it was calculus. No fault of Dr. Forde's, but let's just say calculus is not my thing. Great professor. I wasn't sure I was going to make it to track and field after I started in that class, but on to bigger and better things, I guess I would say. When I really learned to appreciate my cobber education was when I went to grad school. And the way I describe it is I just never felt anything other than prepared the whole time through grad school. I'm not saying it was easy, but I felt like Concordia prepared me well for that. Second thing I'm thankful for is, I'm going to call it the opportunity to compete. It's just one of those things that after high school I determined that I kind of needed more of. And I found that in track and field at Concordia. I quickly learned that I was actually a better student during kind of the hectic schedule of track and field. So always the kind of winter semester and spring semester, I was always a better student. And it was mostly because you kind of had to put kind of the discipline in place. I think that's kind of the epitome of a Division III student athlete. My third thing is I'm thankful for my Concordian family support system. So a little story about my parents. I remember my dad when I was in high school saying, you should try track and field. I was much more into football and other things, I guess, but athletically football. And I thought, I don't want to do that. I've been doing sports all year. And he said, no, you should do it just to train for football. It'll force you to lift. You're going to run more. You're going to do all these things. And the reality was I don't regret that at all. In fact, it quickly became kind of my first sport, obviously. I'm also very thankful for my coaches, including head coaches, Doug Perry, who I know I saw here somewhere tonight. Mike Paul was the head coach for 1 year during my time at Concordia, but especially Yvonne Baplin. I really was truly an honor to be one of the many kind of All-Americans, national qualifiers that were coached by Yvonne. It was truly an honor to be a part of that, and I can't thank her enough. I'm also thankful for what I would say is my cobber thrower friends, by and large. I've developed some pretty amazing friendships with those friends throughout my college career. We had pretty incredible experiences. One of the things I remember the most was traveling with them, right? So we got to travel to, it felt like Minneapolis every weekend. I'm sure it wasn't, but that's what it feels like looking back on it in the Concordia van. So it was actually interesting that this whole Hall of Fame experience started with a trip in a van to the end of the parade, or start of the parade. When we got to travel to Minneapolis, we actually had a team trip to San Diego. That was a really memorable experience. I remember throwing the hammer throw what felt like into the ocean at University of California, San Diego's land that shouldn't have been used for a discus and hammer throwing, but we'll take it. I remember national championship trips to Wisconsin and Ohio, and I always tell people, yeah, one year our reward for a really good season qualifying for nationals was a trip to exotic Cleveland. So it was quite an interesting experience. Our senior year, we got to go to Maine. That's a little bit better. We'll go with that. And actually, most importantly, without one of my thrower friends who set me up on a blind date, I wouldn't have met my wife. So you could say that Concordia and Concordia Track and Field has had a pretty long, enduring, positive impact on my life. And then the last thing I would say from my experience with track and field, I think I mean, Fred said this earlier, I kind of found my people in track. That's what drew me to track more so than football and other things. Those other things were great. My people were in track and field. Or someone corrected me, it should be field and track, but we'll skip that right now. So I thought I'd list a couple things that describe my people, I'll say when I say that. My people were the ones that wore, no joke, teal, black, and white Zubas for warm-up pants in track. Let's just say your average thrower doesn't fit real well into a track and field uniform. So that was kind of us. I can only imagine what our competitors thought, seeing us walk around in that. But maybe it was all part of the psychological part of the game. My people were people that watched Spaceballs just about every weekend during the school year. And we got together this summer, and I think just about every one of us can still recite the entire movie. So if anybody's a Mel Brooks fan, we're your people. There's no doubt. In fact, actually, one of our throwers who couldn't be here, if anybody knows the movie, sent me this with her sister. So Spaceballs the koozie, so Spaceballs insert merchandise is kind of the bit. That's indicative of how that is enduring. And the other thing I would say is that my people in track and field and my thrower friends are people that would bust their butts and tails every day, every week to do something like throw a disc, throw a ball and chain a few inches further than they did the week or the month before. And that's a special kind of motivation. Anyway, so in conclusion, my people, I would say, are the 1990s, early 1990s, throwing crew at Concordia College. Thanks to everybody for coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, and go Congress.
I'm not as tall as John. Next up is Katie Andan. For those that maybe do not know, women's hockey is the most recent sport that Concordia added in the 90s. This inductee is setting a high bar for those to follow, as Katie is our first ever women's hockey player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We now get to hear a little bit more about Katie from one of her teammates.
I am very excited to celebrate Katie's induction into the Hall of Fame. It is incredibly well deserved. She was our leader, either as a captain in the years that she was a captain, or in her early years when she wasn't a captain. She was always our point leader. She was always the player that we looked to score the winning goal. And she did, often. She holds a lot of the records that we have right now for women's hockey for scoring and for points, which is impressive because we were a brand new women's hockey program. Katie and I were on the first women's hockey team, first varsity team at Concordia. Prior to that, there was a club team. What we did, I know, really frustrated some of the other MIAC schools who had more developed programs, more disciplined teams. Katie she made it happen for us. We got wins because of her skills and her dedication to the sport. She wasn't the fastest player, but she made up for her lack of speed with her amazing puck handling skills and her precision with her shots. It was impressive, and I think that one of the reasons why we had so many players come from the Southwest area of the United States to join our team and to play for Concordia was because of her. She influenced others. People looked up to her. So it's extremely exciting to celebrate this induction for her because it is well deserved. I remember her coming back from practice with bags of ice wrapped around her shoulder because she suffered a shoulder injury her sophomore year. It didn't stop her. It didn't keep her from playing. She still remained our point leader, and she powered through it. She had a shoulder surgery, and even after that, it wasn't the same. But she still put the points up on the scoreboard. It was impressive, her dedication and what she did for the program early on. It's very exciting to see what the girls are doing now, but I'm just incredibly excited to celebrate this win for Katie. It's another win that she can add to her list.
Hello, I'm Mo Greiner, the current head women's hockey and golf coach. So you guys get to hear me twice tonight. And it is my honor to introduce Katie here. Have gotten to know Katie a little bit over the last couple days, and since we called her and let her know that she was being inducted, and just an awesome person, and really a great example, I think, for our Colorado women's hockey players today. Hopefully they start putting the puck away like she did as well. That'd be awesome. Katie Jacques Andan is the all-time leading scorer in Colorado women's hockey program. She finished her storied career with 185 points and 111 goals. Her credentials include being a second all-time in career assists with 74, while recording 26 game-winning goals during her 4-year Colorado career. By all statistics, she is one of the best all-time best to ever play in the MIAC women's hockey. A native of the unlikely ice hockey town of Tempe, Arizona, Andan was a 3-time All-MIAC honoree and an integral part of the 2003 squad that holds the program record for the most MIAC wins and the highest MIAC finish in a single season. Andan taught school in Ghana for 3 years after graduating from Concordia. She and her husband John, class of 2003, a Colorado track athlete, are the proud parents of 8-year-old twins, a son and a daughter, Ziggy and Zuby, and live in Encinitas, California. She has taught 5th grade for the past 17 years in the Encinitas school system. The Andan family spends summers in John's native country of Ghana, where they maintain a home and spend quality time with friends and family. In recognition of her outstanding achievements as a Colorado athlete, and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct Katie Andan into the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Rachel and Mo, the entire athletic department, for having me here tonight. It's been wonderful to be back on campus. I did not recognize much, but once we got to Olson Forum today, then I felt a little more at home. Thank you, Das and Clev and Forbes and Shai, Peach, Savoie, and Jenna for being here tonight and sharing this experience with me. I am missing my husband, who I met here at school, which sounds like a lot of cover stories. Took a picture today of the desk in Olson Forum where I first met him. And I wanted to thank Clevin because she gave me her ID when I was still a few months shy to go out with my husband John for the first time. Thank you to Dr. Arnold, who I spent some time with yesterday, for being my favorite professor. I did not ever go into the math department, but it sounds like I missed out. But Dr. Arnold was great. In the history department, anytime we had to stay on campus for games, he would have all of us over to his house. We knew his whole family. He was one of our biggest fans. And I also got to go on a May semester with him that pretty much ignited my love of international travel. Thank you to our first coach and basically the person who got this program off the ground, Devlene, who's here tonight. She came to Denver to watch a tournament and offered me the chance to come see Concordia. We did not come in the winter. I can't remember when we came. My dad and I came and basically fell in love with it. So it was an easy choice after that to come here. I'm sure that some people are surprised and possibly a little irritated that the first person to win this award is indeed from California and Arizona. But I know that the ones following me will be from Minnesota, like some of my teammates here tonight. While most kids in Minnesota learn to skate before they can walk, I didn't really play much ice hockey before my senior year of high school. I lived in Arizona. We had one rink, so I was always on my rollerblades, and I played roller hockey. And then I transitioned my senior year into ice hockey because I was interested in playing in college. And it sounds really comparable until you watch videos of our freshman year when I would try to stop on my left foot and would just like kind of turn and then hope for the best because the stopping is different on ice skates. It does feel funny to accept an individual award for such a team sport. We had an outstanding team. I remember our goalie Shyla and my roommate and teammate would make over 50, 60 saves a game, every single game. Our defensemen would throw their bodies in front of the puck. Annie and our friend that's not here tonight would do all the work along the boards. And my friend and fellow Arizonian Lindsay would just put the puck on my stick, and then all I had to do was direct it into the goal. So it really was a team effort. But what I will take credit for, though, is really bringing the West Coast to Moorhead, Minnesota. I did study a little bit my freshman year, but I spent most of my time recruiting my friends from Arizona and California to come out to Minnesota, and I just basically told them that the winters weren't that bad. They did come, and at one point we had 7 of us here listening to our West Coast hip-hop and super bundled up and having the absolute best time. We just had more and more players from the West Coast come every year. And I heard from one of my West Coast friends that they still do the chant that we started at Sea House 20 years ago, which made me super happy. And lastly, I'd like to thank my parents. My mom, who's at home today but would send me care package after care package while I was up here. And my dad, who did not miss a single game, coming from Arizona. So he'd fly to our games every single weekend, regardless of wherever we were, and would have his little Concordia hat on. I'm surprised he didn't wear it tonight. And then would take my entire team out to dinner afterwards. And I think a lot of our memories are tied into my dad taking us all out to dinner afterwards. So thank you very much. I'm very thankful to Concordia for the entire experience. Definitely has helped shape who I am today. So thank you.
Our next inductee is Tracy Beil. Tracy was a standout on the track and field, but mostly track for your events, and a standout in the classroom. She met her husband while at Concordia, who was also a student athlete. So let's hear from Tracy's husband now and learn a little bit more about her.
Hi, my name is Ryan Beil, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about 4-time track and field All-American Tracy Beil. A few people had a front row seat, quite like I did. I was also on the track team, also a 400 hurdler. So I was there for every practice, every race of Tracy's for 3 of her 4 years. And in fact, I was so impressed that I ended up marrying her. And in fact, I tell anybody who will listen to me that between the 2 of us, we have 4 All-American trophies that you can see behind us. So anyway, some things that I wanted to share about Tracy that kind of stand out is, number 1, Tracy was unbelievably consistent. I can't ever remember her having a bad race. In fact, when the lights were the brightest, Tracy was at her best. She was a 3-time MIAC champion in the 400-meter hurdles and a 4-time All-American, as I've mentioned before. And she, in fact, her senior year, she finished second at the national meet. So when the meets were the biggest, Tracy was always at her best. Tracy was also always very proud of being a part of a really, really good team. 2 of her teammates, Chris Keel and Renee Erickson, have also been inducted into the Concordia Hall of Fame. And Tracy's just really proud of the fact that they finished in the top 3 of the MIAC and had a lot of team success while she was competing at Concordia. And finally, I think the thing that's most impressive, the higher you get in track and field, the more specialized it gets. But Tracy was unbelievably versatile. She left Concordia as the school record holder in the 200 meters indoors. She qualified provisionally for nationals in the 55-meter hurdles, the open 400 indoors when there wasn't 400-meter hurdles, and she led her team to an All-American finish in the 4x400 relay. So she was super versatile and participated and did very well in a lot of events. So I'm unbelievably proud of Tracy. Every year I would look at the Concordia magazine, and I would see people who were inducted into the Concordia Hall of Fame. And when I was looking at it, in the back of my mind, I always thought, hey, Tracy definitely deserves this accolade. I never really said anything, but I'm so proud of her. So excited that in a sport where there's not really a lot of fanfare, that Tracy is being recognized today for her great accomplishments individually, but also she helped her team to some great heights back in the day. So congratulations, Tracy. Unbelievably proud of you. This is well deserved.
I'm the women's track and field coach here, and when I arrived, it was in the January of Tracy's senior year, and so here I am, this part-time adjunct assistant coach from a little town that you could fit in this room, and she's an All-American. And anyway, but it took only one practice for me to realize that I wasn't being handed a piece of clay to mold. I was being handed a masterpiece. And now all I had to do was not mess it up. Anyway, I remember Tracy and I sat down and we talked about, well, what should her training be? And I think it was your idea, Tracy. But anyway, we sat down and she told me what she had done the year before. And I asked her, did you like that? Did it work well? And she goes, yeah, I did. And I go, well, that's what we're going to do. And it turned out pretty good because she was third as a junior. And then her senior year, she was second. And then in the nationals up in the 400 hurdles. So Tracy was really smart. She knew what could work for her, and all I had to do was just get out of the way in that. But Tracy is very strong-willed and very determined, and those are very good qualities to have in events like the 400 and the 400 hurdles. We really served her well. That's why I get to read a citation for the greatest 400 hurdler in the history of Concordia College, and that honor might last for quite some time. So anyway, here we go. A native of Hermantown, Minnesota, Tracy Berntsen Beil was a standout in both athletics and academics during her time at Concordia. In 1995, she won the MIAC 400-meter hurdles and then placed second at the NCAA Nationals event, posting a school record time of 61.72 seconds. Beil was a 3-time track and field All-American and also a 3-time academic All-MIAC honoree, graduating with a degree in mathematics. She still holds the outdoor school record in the 400 hurdles. After 2 years of teaching and coaching in high school, Beil earned a master's degree in exercise science and biomechanics from St. Cloud State University. She then moved to Portland, Oregon, where she began work in health research. She is currently a research programs manager for the Kaiser Permanente Evidence-Based Practice Center, where she conducts scientific and methodological
research to support guidelines for screening and prevention for primary care. She has twice been honored as top manager for her work at Kaiser Permanente Northwest. Beil and her husband, Ryan, a 94 Cobber track and field athlete, are parents of 2 children, Andres and Amelie, who are both members of their college and high school track and field teams. In recognition of her outstanding achievements as a Cobber athlete, and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct Tracy Beil into the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame.
I wanted to thank the committee for the selection and the honor. The phone call from Marv was very unexpected. I was actually wondering what was wrong. I didn't even think there might be good news about it, but thank you for the honor. I want to thank Marv first. He, as he mentioned, joined Concordia my senior year, and when we met, he said, "I'm here to do anything to support you. I want to make sure you have a great senior year," which he definitely did. He's such a genuinely kind person, and I really enjoyed working with him, so thank you, Mark. I wanted to thank Rory Beil, who is now my brother-in-law, but he was my coach for my junior year. Those of you who know Rory know he's a technician, and so he was the first person who really sat with me and worked on the mechanics of hurdling, and enabled me to take my racing up to another level. I want to thank Ryan, who mentioned was my training partner for 3 years here and is now my husband. And I think we were the only 2 people on the team who thought running 400 hurdles was fun. So you usually have to trick people into running it, but I want to thank my parents who've been here obviously all of the time, doing so much for me, picking up from practice, driving to meets, buying gear, always my biggest fans, so thank you. Take a breath. I want to thank my aunt and uncle Bob and Jill. They lived in the Twin Cities during my time here, so they were always at the meets down in the cities and made sure I had a big cheering fan of this group there. And thanks to the rest of my family. There are many of them in attendance here tonight. Thank you for being here and everything before. So interestingly, I went to a high school that didn't have a track. So for a kid like me who's running hurdles, it involved dragging them out to a parking lot to practice, or inclement weather in Duluth, Minnesota, which happens frequently, means I was running in the hallways of the school with hurdles. So when I got to Concordia, I lived in the dorm next door, and having a track outside the door was amazing. And my senior year, the Olson Forum opened, so I had an indoor facility as well. So I thought, wow, I've really moved up in the world. I don't really remember the stats of my career here, but I do remember the experiences and the people, for sure. As John mentioned, the endless hours in the vans, down to the cities almost every weekend, the hotel stays, but those were the times where you got to hang out with your friends, meet new people, just really bond with people. And he mentioned this too, but the highlight for me was the trip out to Maine for nationals my freshman year. Never been to that part of the country, so flying into Boston, seeing some historical sites, and then hitting the coast of Maine was definitely a highlight. But my favorite time of the year was the 3 weeks of the track season that our after school is out. So there's no homework, no tests, no papers. It's just hanging out with your friends, going to practice once a day, and eating way too many meals at the Village Inn. First day of practice was the second semester of my freshman year. I was a little nervous walking in. I wasn't sure what to expect. But as John mentioned, I got there and I was like, these are my people. I met my best friends, my roommates, my husband, and track is a great sport that accommodates all types of athletes, so many different personalities, people. I mean, I hung out with the throwers a bunch. One was my roommate. A jumper friend was my maid of honor. You know, it's just such a fun group to be a part of. So overall, I'm just generally super grateful for my time here at Concordia on the team. A lot of special moments, wonderful people. Shout out to Dr. Forde, who is the most enthusiastic math professor. The energy the man brought to the classroom is untouched. I had the pleasure of a couple classes with him, and it was amazing. And I also had the pleasure of a couple classes with Dr. Arnold, and I always just called it story time with Vince. Because I would just sit there and listen and take notes. Those are honestly a couple of my favorite professors here, so I'm glad you guys are both here today. But thank you.
Ryan go from our screen. Next up is Kelly Cornell Dorr. Golf is one of those things I am convinced I will never be able to claim being good at, but Kelly sure can. Let's hear from her former coach, Dwayne Severson, about Kelly as a golfer and a person.
Hey, Kelly. Greetings from Phoenix, Arizona. Heard there's a ceremony tonight celebrating your athletic accomplishments. That's awesome, girl. Congratulations on being inducted to the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame. What a great honor, and so well deserved. So happy for you and for your family, for your former teammates that helped motivate you. We had a lot of great trips and wonderful memories meeting a lot of those schools that we competed against, didn't we? Pretty amazing what your team's accomplished, and you as well. You were a joy to coach for me in golf and basketball, and the main reason was because you were the consummate player, teammate, and leader. Nothing was more important to you than the team, and I admire you, and I will always remember you for that. The other thing that I'll always remember about you is in the 38 years that I coached at Concordia, you were the most humble, respectful, and unassuming person in victory, and almost to the point where you were embarrassed when you won. That being said, Kelly, sit back, enjoy the banquet, and your fellow Cobbers. Congrats to all the other inductees, and congrats again on your induction, Corny. I'm so proud of you. Have a great night.
Hello again. My name is Mo. I am the head women's golf coach now too. It's fun seeing Seaver up on the screen there. I played for a different school that used to be in the MIAC that we don't talk about, hockey and golf. And Seaver, I would always go off at the end, and he would always talk to me on the range, and he was like, you know, Hardwick, you're supposed to be a Cobber. And I said, yeah, you might be right, but it looks like I ended up in the right spot at the end. So pretty cool and neat to see and just hear about kind of the start of MIAC women's golf. So without further ado here, Kelly Cornell Dorr was the first ever MIAC women's golf champion when the conference held its inaugural tournament in 1989. She also became the first NCAA All-American in the Cobber Golf program by placing fourth in the NCAA Division III National Championship Tournament in 1992. The Thief River Falls, Minnesota native finished her Cobber career as a two-time MIAC champion. A standout athlete, Dorr experienced success in 3 sports at Concordia. She both played and was a student coach in women's basketball and earned MIAC All-Conference in both tennis and golf. She also earned multiple academic All-MIAC honors. Dorr currently teaches physical education at the Princeton, Minnesota Intermediate School. She has coached boys and girls basketball, golf, and tennis, and is currently the head boys tennis coach. Dorr coached the Princeton girls tennis team to back-to-back state tournaments and was named the Minnesota State AA Girls Tennis Coach of the Year in 2014. As an educator, she has implemented standards-based grading, started a free morning fitness class to help struggling students focus in class, and collects clothes for kids in need that she distributes to students. Dorr and her husband, Brian, are parents of 2 daughters, Brianna and Kelsey, who are both standout tennis players. In recognition of her outstanding achievements as a Cobber athlete and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct Kelly Dorr in the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, it was great to see Seaver again. I know that he had moved out of town, so most of my memories revolve around obviously spending time with him in various sports and activities. It's definitely an honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight here at Concordia, and I'm very lucky to be part of this class. It's just a wonderful honor and privilege, and something I will always cherish with great pride. There's no possible way I could stand here tonight and thank everybody that played a role in my being here, but I would like to take the time to recognize just a few of those individuals. First, my parents. They were my biggest supporters. They carted me all over to play any sport I would ever want to play, from basketball to tennis to golf to baseball to hockey, things that maybe you weren't supposed to do in 1989 as a young girl, but they were always there to support me. The other person is my brother, who over the years we participated and played sports against, and he probably beat me at more things than I can remember, but it made me the better competitor that I am today. So I appreciate my family very much. I appreciate Coach Severson and Jerry Beil coming to Fergus Falls to recruit Michelle Hilly Horan and happening to see me play basketball that night. They talked to me about coming to Concordia to play basketball, and I was all in because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to come and win some championships. I had had success as an individual in golf and tennis in high school, and coming here, my goal was to win a championship as a team. So I never really thought of myself as a golfer because golf was something I started really late. I started in high school. I went out my freshman year, shot a 56 on my first round, and they were like, wow, that's really good. I had no idea because I had never played golf before. I didn't even know the rules, so I found out I was going to the varsity tournament the next day, and they gave me the Snoopy rules of golf, and I had to read it overnight so I would be ready to play the next day. So coming here, I never thought of myself as a golfer, but I distinctly remember sitting in Memorial Auditorium and visiting with Seaver, and my dad noticed that he was a golf coach. And my dad said, hey, Kelly plays golf. And he goes, well, is she any good? And he said, well, she was in the top 10 in the state last year. And he's like, wow, did you bring your clubs? No, I'm not a golfer. I'm here to play basketball and to play tennis. I'm really not a golfer. And he said, well, maybe you should think about it next year. So I decided after my first year at Concordia, I finished and played some basketball and played tennis, and I thought, well, might as well bring my golf clubs next year. He says I probably would have a chance to make the team. So looking back, I didn't realize at the time that 1989 was the first year that they had held an MIAC golf tournament. We went, we played, and we ended up winning the tournament, and I had won the championship, and really didn't understand the whole magnitude of this So it was kind of a cool experience. What was really neat about it, because I had done so many individual things through high school, was to finally win a championship as a team. And I know I'm being honored for many of my individual accomplishments, but it's the 3 conference championships as a team, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and taking second in the nation as a team. My senior year, when we traveled to North Carolina and took a week at Pinehurst and missed graduation and had so much fun at Pinehurst, that those were the things that really stuck out to me. To Coach Severson, I need to thank him for recruiting me to play basketball, but really talking me into playing golf. I was always someone that could hit the ball really straight and really pretty far, but I had never worked on chipping or putting, so he had spent endless hours with me on those areas of the game to help me to develop into the golfer I became. I have a lot of great memories of golf at Concordia, and some that I think, as I look back, were kind of funny. One memory that is still very vivid in my mind was we were in South Dakota, and we had played the first 9 holes, and Seaver came up and asked me how I was playing, and I told him my score, and he said, well, give me your golf bag. And so I handed him my golf bag, and he threw my 5-iron on the ground, my putter, some tees, a golf ball, a few golf balls, and he started walking away with my bag. And he said, wow, I said, I need my bag. And he goes, well, obviously you have too many clubs, so you're thinking too much. So I think if you play the last 9 holes with just those items, you'll play much better. So we had a long discussion and argument. Finally, I got my bag back. I did play a lot better, but it was probably because I was so mad at him that I did play better. I also remember how on most of our golf trips, we would stop anywhere to play golf. Seaver was a master at talking us into free golf. And he would say, because he had traveled those roads so many times, I think I smell a golf course coming up. And sure enough, there would be a golf course, and we would pull in, and he would talk them into free golf. We'd go play 4 or 5 holes, jump back in the van, and continue on our way. Something I've always wondered is if Seaver ever wanted his putter and his driver back that he borrowed me 30-some years ago. I still carry them in my bag every time, and it always brings me back to some great memories of him and golf at Concordia. The choice I made over 30 years ago to attend Concordia College was by far the best choice I could have made for me because of the people and all of the time I spent at Memorial Auditorium being a Phi Ed major. Some of my fondest memories are Sonny Galsvik and the 9-man football coaching class I had to take. I still have my 9-man football playbook that I had to write out because I had to call my dad, who was a football coach, to help me come up with some plays. Coach Severson and the beginning golf class I had to take for my degree, and the coaching and officiating basketball class I had to take for my degree. Bucky Burgow for teaching me how to turn all white clothes to pink as I washed laundry downstairs with my job. The downstairs weight room where I lifted weights endlessly my junior and senior year to add a few yards to my drive because I wanted to improve that area of my game. The visits with Mrs. Pavick in her little penthouse office above the stairs there before tennis matches. And the time she came out and asked me in a match, are you hungry? Do you need a sandwich? As we split sets. Getting to know every step of Memorial Auditorium by hopping up each one of them with my left foot, then my right foot, all the way to the top, millions of times for basketball practice. My first college tennis match in Memorial Auditorium on that surface was really quite amazing. My very few minutes of game time for the basketball team that I got in Memorial Auditorium, hitting golf balls in the net, knowing if I hit my 7-iron just perfect, it would go through the hole that was in the net and hit the metal garage door that was on the end of the gym. This one, many of you may remember, having my own very front row seat to those intense staff noon pickup games, and watching Coach Jerry Beil call those ticky-tack fouls on Professor Spieldy in the game. Thank you, Concordia, for everything. Roll Cobbs.
Our next inductee is Dr. Jim Forde. Jim has been a staple in our stands, I was going to say for years, but Jim, I get to say for decades. It always is a great day when Jim is in Memorial Auditorium, even since retirement, still stops by to visit with coaches, to visit with administrators. I also happen to know that Jim loves to win, but not just in the athletic arena. He equally is passionate about seeing our student athletes win in the classroom and beyond. We now get to hear from two former athletic directors about Jim, and then a special former student of his and athlete, former head women's basketball coach Jessica Raymond, will read his citation.
What an honor and privilege it is to say a few words about my good friend and colleague, Jim Forde. Jim is a master teacher and an avid sports fan, and perhaps even more important, a caring friend and mentor to countless students, student athletes, coaches, and colleagues. There's an old adage in education that says no one will care what you know until they know that you care. Jim Forde cares. He also recognizes that good teaching and good coaching are essentially the same. You see, a Concordia education is about more than just knowledge acquisition. At its best, it's about character formation and developing leaders. And the giants among us know this. And Jim Forde is a giant. Jim's also a very humble person. In his discipline of mathematics, one can identify the very gifted students quite quickly. But Jim always felt Concordia was special because it fostered an environment where everyone was treated the same. And in fact, the most talented students and athletes were quick to help out their classmates and teammates. Jim fostered and embodied this, a deep caring for others combined with deep humility of one's own talents and abilities. So Jim was a perfect choice for a faculty athletic representative, where he deftly balanced the academic priorities of the college with a recognition of the role that athletics plays in the development and formation of character and leadership. I want to close my remarks by quoting former volleyball coach and math instructor Tim Moser, who wrote, "Jim, you and Geraldine truly embody to me and my team what it means to be a Cobber, to be a thoughtful and informed man and woman dedicated to the Christian life. Thank you for helping send into society thousands of Cobbers that were so equipped. You're not only one of the all-time greats for the athletic department, but for Concordia College as a whole, and our community as well. I'm so grateful to count you a friend, colleague, and fellow sojourner. Well done, good and faithful servant. Soli Deo Gloria." Congratulations, Jim and Geraldine.
Well, it's really a pleasure for me to be able to make a few comments for Jim Forde's induction into the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame, because Jim was a person that I highly admired and respected as a colleague of mine when I was working at Concordia, and he's one of my best friends during my retirement after Concordia. I would comment on Jim as an unbelievable supporter of the student athlete at Concordia. He has been at Concordia for, I don't know, maybe 50 years. And during this time, I think I can accurately say that Jim has attended more athletic events than any other person in the history of this school. He hardly ever missed any soccer games, men or women, He hardly ever missed any volleyball matches. He hardly missed any football games. He was at literally every men's and women's basketball game. He had a passion for wrestling. He hardly missed any wrestling events. And you could sprinkle in all the other sports, baseball and softball and swimming and so on. He would be there. But that's not where I would stop. 99% of the people go to athletic events to watch the game or the event, and then they go home. Jim wanted more than that. Jim wanted to get to know the student athlete. He wanted to understand who they were. And so after games, or after meets, or after contests, he would go down on the floor or out on the field and congratulate them or encourage them or just wanted to get to know them better. And I think this is what made him special. He loved having athletes in his classes, and they loved him. And Jim had some wonderful personality traits like patience and kindness and selflessness, and he was helpful and he was thoughtful. And these are traits that when he wanted to get to know the athletes better, they were willing to get to know him better and become a friend of his. And when you think about all of the years, the 40 years that he's been at Concordia or more, he has become close friends or has developed a wonderful relationship with hundreds of our athletes through these years. And that relationship that he's developed with them followed them after graduation. And they've cherished this relationship and remember this relationship long after their years at Concordia. And I've seen many of the athletes come back after their graduation and look up Jim Forde. And this is what has made him a special person. And I think this is what has made him an athletic Hall of Famer. So congratulations, Jim. I'm very happy for you.
Dr. Forde. Well, I think I was supposed to be a little bit of a part of that video, so I hope you'll bear with me if I say a few things about Dr. Forde. But I'm Jacques Raymond, maiden name Beachy. I was a cobber a long time ago, and I was a student in Dr. Forde's class, calculus class too. August 30th, 1984. So if any of you are calculating that right now, that's 38 years. I've known Dr. Forde longer than I've known Brian, who is my husband. I have a few things I just would like to say about him that reiterate many of the things that were said in the video. But over the course of those 38 years, we went from a relationship that was a student-professor, student-athlete, and avid Cobber fan, to colleague, to then, I would dare I say, lifelong friends. And he's a very special person, very special. Our first meeting ever was me as an apprehensive freshman sitting in the front row of calculus class and observing this man come into, fly in, if anyone's ever had him for a professor, fly into class, get up to that board, just start writing, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, this guy really loves what he does. I was like, wow, he really loves math. But the more I got to know him, this is just the person that he is. This is the energy that he brings into a room. I can tell you that he had a pep in his step as soon as he walked in the door. And I thought to myself, I kept thinking, I want that in life. I want that gusto. I want that energy. I want that passion and purpose. And that's what he embodies. I kept thinking that to myself. And it made me want to be there, be in class. I wanted to learn. I wanted to succeed. And it was just energizing to be a part of it. Lesson number 1 I learned from you: always live life to the fullest. Be passionate, be excited, don't be embarrassed, be excited, be animated. Let everybody know what your heart says and what it feels. Living this way makes us better people, and it makes the world a better place. So you model that, and you embody the heart and the passion and the gusto, and I love that about you. As a female athlete in the 80s, I think somebody else mentioned early 90s, having the opportunity to continue to play the game you loved was an honor, right? And I really felt like there's a lot of memories in Memorial Auditorium, long hours of hard work, games, tournament time. But there was something that I always knew, and this was before you were faculty athletic rep, but I knew you were always there. You were always there. Your commitment to the student athlete was twofold. You were absolutely committed to the student part of that equation and never let that be forgotten. But you also loved athletics. I saw you supporting teams everywhere. You and Geraldine were in the stands at everything, near and far. I mean, games that were 6-8 hours away or a plane trip away, didn't matter. They were there. And that commitment was never lost on the student athletes and the people that you cared about. Your physical presence really did make an impact, and I want you to know that. I think I can speak for all the student athletes. Thank you. Number 3, or the lesson that I learned, is that when you put your whole heart into something that you care about, it is good. Because I see that in the way that you live your life. You embody that authentic life, and I love that about you. With graduation, I left college and moved on with life. And things would remind me of Dr. Forde, and I know any of you that know him, you've got those things too. I got a phone call in the early 2000s letting me know that there's a coaching position open at the college. And I remember being a little surprised. It was Dr. Forde had called me. A little surprised. I'm like, oh, okay. And at the time I had young kids, and we lived in St. Cloud, and we just barely moved there. And I was very honored that he called, but I was a little nervous when I knew that I was going to tell him I'm going to stay in St. Cloud. And true to who he is, he was very patient, he was very kind, and then he said, don't completely shut the door to this opportunity. I'm like, all right. And after a few more phone calls, I felt like Dwayne Severson was calling me again. A few more phone calls and a few more chats. I decided to take that leap. And it had a lot to do with the idea that you opened my eyes to opportunities that I maybe hadn't thought about. And you brought it into my radar that, hey, this might be a possibility. So another lesson: dream big, believe in yourself, and go for it. You are a possibility thinker, not just probability as in math, but possibility thinker, and I love that about you. Back in the saddle, being back here, we got to be colleagues, and that was a really special treat. I got to have lots of chats about the state of things and who the new recruits were, what does the upcoming season look like, and after 38 years, he still was excited and giddy and just makes you happy to be here. And it just, that kind of thing was great. But you've heard it before, the caring of this man. It wasn't just checking in on Coach, he was checking in on Jess. How's Brian? How are the kids? And you know, when you have a crazy young family, he was asking those questions and he cared. And I always felt like I had somebody in my corner with him. I had the sense that you were always there, believing, cheering, supporting, and encouraging. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated that. Lesson number whatever. Human connection is vital, and you do that for people. You empower others to live their calling because you believe and support them. You embody a true friendship. So, you've continued to impact people, even after I was long gone. And I think about that. I think about your circle of influence here at Concordia and the ripple effect that it has. You are legendary and you've impacted millions in my mind. I have a great respect for you and the person that you are. You're a big part of a reason why I came back, because I thought, I want to give back. I want to be like Dr. Forde and some of those others that are here that were legendary. So if I can have a fraction of an impact that you've had, I will feel like that's the mission accomplished. So, best lesson I've learned, be mindful of your life's calling and use your God-given gifts, because you've done that. So I would like to read your citation. Dr. James Forde was the Concordia Faculty Athletics Representative to the MIAC from 1992 to 2002. In that role, he was an enthusiastic advocate for Cobber athletes and helped promote student athlete success in the classroom, on the playing field and courts, and in the community. As Concordia's faculty athletics representative, he was instrumental in guiding the nominations of many deserving student athletes for NCAA postgraduate grants, scholarships, and recognition programs. Above all, Forde is a faithful fan of Cobber athletics, having only missed, by his account, 7 home basketball and volleyball games in his years at Concordia. 38 years, at least more than that, probably. Among his many awards for outstanding teaching and service, he considers the 2015 Golden Cobs Bucky Burgo Achievement Award as the most meaningful because it was voted on by Cobber student athletes. Forde and his wife, Geraldine, who served as the music department coordinator for 25 years, were also regular recital and concert attendees. Be it through music or athletics, the Fordes have enjoyed many special relationships with students. For many years, Forde was a friendly, insightful speaker for the admissions events, helping incoming students understand what they could gain from their college experience. By any standard, his teaching of mathematics and his steadfast advocacy for students has been inspirational and so wonderfully joyful. In recognition of his outstanding service to Concordia College and to Cobber Athletics, and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct Dr. James Forde into the Concordia Hall of Fame.
It's hard to be humble after that, isn't it? Sorry. Dwayne Severson's name has come up a couple of times tonight. He was one of my favorite people at this place. Always mid-semester or so, fall semester, I would check in and say, are there any women's basketball players who I should be looking out for this year? Any freshmen? He said, I've just recruited the most aggressive point guard we've ever had at Concordia College. I said, who was that? He said, a young woman named Jessica Beachy. I thought, is this the skinny little girl who sits in the front row of my calculus class? Never says anything but makes 100 on every exam? You see, it's one and the same, huh? I think about one of the, she is, where is she? Yeah, she is one of the most competitive people you will ever know. I mean, she refused to acknowledge that losing was a possibility. It wasn't something you should even consider. So it's been a joy to know Jessica all these years. As I mentioned, Dwayne was a good friend of mine, and I miss him a lot. I want to acknowledge the support I've had over the years with my family. My wife is here, Geraldine. My 2 daughters are here, one from Vermont, one from St. Louis Park. 3 of my grandsons, Cameron and Emmett and Otis, are here. My sister Helen from Iowa is here, brought up by one of my nephews, who's there. Yes. So I appreciate family support. Geraldine has always supported me in anything I would choose to do. I know sometimes she would say, you know, is Concordia really this important that we have to do this today? Is Concordia ahead of your family? And sometimes I had to think strong about that. Because I thought, you know, maybe this is possible. Maybe this is possible. My years at Concordia have been an absolute joy in every way. In every way. I see Clay Nagel out there. He's a special friend as well. So, Clay, love to you. Concordia has been able to attract not only the academically talented student, but the student who knows what it means to work. You're not going to be excellent if you come here and coast. Huh? And they knew that. They knew that. And faculty expected it. Huh? I was always overjoyed to be the Concordia faculty athletic representative. And I was so proud of our coaches here. Because there were other faculty athletic reps from other schools who would say, do you have any people on your faculty who are anti-athlete? Never occurred to me that that sort of thing would occur. But there were other schools for whom that was the case. And our coaches always let the faculty people who are involved with their athletes know when they're going to be missing or might have to ask for some special accommodation. So every time I was at an MIAC faculty rep meet, I thanked the coaches at Concordia College for keeping the faculty informed about things. I remember Tracy as a student. Actually, of the 5 students who coming in, I had 3 of them in class. So that was a special gift as well. So hearing the accolades for these people tonight just makes me so joyous as well. So I close with a couple of remarks. One is saying that Concordia College has been an absolutely wonderful gift in my life. A wonderful gift in my life. And lastly, in terms of academic honesty, I have to tell everyone that I am on the nominating committee for the Hall of Fame here. So I also will tell you with pride I did not self-nominate. Tonight, Rachel said, notice with my cane today. I had hip surgery a while ago and it isn't quite right yet. So Rachel said, we have your table right up in the corner so you won't have far to go. So I looked in the corner. I said, yeah, that's probably my table. No, that's my table. Thank you, Rachel.
Yep, I screwed up on that one, Jim. All on that one. Oh, our last inductee of the evening is Russ Winkels. And Russ, this next statement is for your teammates in the room. I read your bio, but nowhere at Concordia College can I find a major of nuclear physics.
Pleasure that I'm able to help introduce.
A humble man, which tells you that this day has maybe been a bit out of his comfort zone. But I also know, and I have heard over and over again, today, and since people have heard you were going to be in our Hall of Fame, how loved you were and still are by all of your teammates. So let's hear from one of your teammates and friends, Terry Storm.
Good evening. It is with honor and pleasure that I'm able to help introduce Mr. Russell Winkels into the 2022 Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame. My name is Terry Storm. I was a teammate of Russ's on the 1986 football team. But enough about me. Even though my wife Barbara thinks it's my favorite subject, this one is about Russ. Russell Winkels, aka Scooter. 1986, co-captain of the football team. 1986, MIAC, All-Conference Free Safety. 1986, All-American Free Safety. And the 1986 MIAC MVP. As a defensive player, that's quite a feat because that almost never happens. In fact, I heard Coach Moran, who was a wide receiver on that team, talk with his other receivers about how he never caught a pass the whole practice season of 1986 against the Russ Winkels-led defense. I might be wrong, but I doubt it. I'd like to share a story that is very popular amongst all our players, and I just want to make sure I get this right. But who could ever forget the game-winning wave goodbye interception against Central Iowa in the national playoffs? Russ Winkels helped win that game 17-14 against a very good Central Iowa football team that had a multi-year home win streak. Russ stepped in front of a pass along the sideline, intercepted it, and as he was streaking down to the touchdown, he waved over his right shoulder goodbye to people chasing him. And Russ, I know this story is shared almost every summer when we get together, and it gets better every year. It's probably the old adage, the older we get, the better it was. But honestly, this is a great story. I'm just so glad though, Russ, that it wasn't 5 yards longer down to the end zone, because that offensive tackle that was going on the athlete probably would have caught you. There are so many great Scooter stories. I wish I could share more. But honestly, the most important story of all was how Russ recognized God's given talents at a very young age. Sure, he had great athletic talents, but the one that's most important, probably to all of us, was his leadership skills. Russ had the ability to make you feel like he was your best friend, and how he made you feel so welcome, and he took care of you and watched out for you, whether that was in the classroom, on the field, or at social gatherings. And there are Bible verses that talk about recognizing your God's given talents and helping them to use others. And Russ certainly did that. So thank you, Russ, for allowing me to speak on your behalf while you're being inducted into the 2022 Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm sure Coach Finn right now is talking very excitedly and maybe even saying, hot diggity dog, because I know I am. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Stormy, you didn't know I had the mic last, huh? I'm Terry Horan. I'm the current head football coach. And it's an absolute honor to be able to read this man, his citation. He was obviously just a great teammate, but like Terry said, he was an incredible leader. He had a magnetic personality. I mean, look at all the guys that are back from that 86 team that are here tonight to support you, Scooter. You were just, you were incredible. And I'll tell you this, big-time players show up in big-time games. And this guy did it every single time that year. And that, man, we had some laughs watching that wave goodbye. I mean, seriously, Central Iowa had like a 48-game home winning streak, and this guy picks it off, goes right down the sideline, propels us into the national semifinals. And again, it was just an honor to play with you. And I didn't catch one football. He locked down. He was amazing. So, citation for Russ Winkels, one of the captains of the outstanding 1986 Cotter football team. Russ Winkels was a vital player for an undefeated team in conference play, winning the MIAC championship and advancing to the semifinals of the NCAA playoffs. A senior safety from Perham, Minnesota, Winkels was the first Cobber football player to be named league MVP and one of only a handful of defensive players to win the coveted award. Winkels also earned All-America honorable mention honors in 1986. He previously was selected first team MIAC All-Conference in 1985. Winkels initially became a computer programmer before returning to Perham to work in the public school system. He was district technology coordinator, and as a facilities director, he joined the Minnesota Educational Facility Management Association, working in the areas of health and safety for Minnesota K-12 schools. In 2021, Winkels was named Minnesota Facilities Management Professional of the Year. Winkels and his wife, Sheila, are the parents of 3 children, Nicholas, Benjamin, and Johanna. The family is active in local sports activities and attends St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Perham. Winkels is an active, longtime member of the Otter Trail Riders Club that maintains more than 120 miles of snowmobile trails in Otter Tail County. In recognition of his outstanding achievements as a Cobber athlete and for setting an example of leadership and character for others to emulate, Concordia College is proud to induct Russ Winkels into the Concordia Athletic Hall of Fame. Way to go,
Wow, what an introduction there. First, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame nominating committee. It might have something to do with putting this together, but what a great event, surrounded by great people. Truly an honor, a little bit overwhelmed that I'm standing in front of this group. So let's have at it, see what we can do. But first thing I'd like to do is thank the coaches that I had. Coach Christopherson, Coach Al Rice, Coach Nick, Coach Finn Griniker, Sonny Galswick, Bucky Burgow. Had a lot of great coaches here. Coach Perry, had a couple graduate assistants that worked with the freshmen a lot. Dan Olson and Mark Tomerdahl, and they gave us encouraging words that just told us, hey, stick with it, it's going to get better. You know, as a freshman, you kind of get put against the number 1 defense, and sometimes they have your way with you. But I was able to make it through that, and also thank you for my teammates. A lot of them are here. Awesome. A lot of my teammates a few of them are already in the hall. And I wouldn't be here if we didn't have good teammates. And with good teammates, we had good success and a lot of memories. Some memories we share, some we don't. I'd like to thank the teaching staff that we had at Concordia and the support staff. It was unbelievable. And I heard that Dr. James Forde was going to be inducted with me, and he's the only guy that I went to his class twice. He had an 8:30 versus the same calculus class that everybody else is talking about. He had an 8:30 and 10:30. I went to him, I said, hey, do you mind if I come to your class twice? You know, he was like all over, writing down, take from negative infinity to positive infinity, F over Y squared. He had all these different tricks to remember the laws of mathematics, and I'm thinking, geez, watching him writing stuff down, I said, I just wrote everything down the first time, and the second time I could just go watch him. It was a treat. He was a great teacher, and yeah, he supported us on the field too, and that's what everybody loved about it. And there's other support staff. I mean, our coaching staff got Ernie Mancini and Pastor Carl Lee,
and they brought us to chapel for our team. God knows we needed that. And they prayed with us, and we needed that too. And, you know, some of us liked it, not always liked it, but yet it shaped us, and that's kind of what made us. And thank you for that. Also, the staff member, my family came to a lot of the games, and they would run into different staff members. And the staff members probably went out of their way, but they shared positive stories. Army people met my mom and dad and said, hey, just want you to know, Russ is attending my early morning classes. You know, you should be proud of him. Thank you. And my mom says to him, thank you for taking care of my Russell. All she cared about was somebody was there watching her young son. So thank you for that. Thank you to my family. My brothers and sisters are here. They came to a lot of my games. One story I got to tell you. We played Hamlin. I think it was Hamlin or maybe it was Bethel, but I think it was Hamlin. One of the last games of the year was a blizzard, absolute blizzard. And we won. I mean, thank God, because they asked if we wanted to play, and we said, sure, let's play. And then we said, well, why are we doing it? But we were ahead 19-0, and we're kind of enjoying the sidelines. And Tim Cruz comes up to me and he says, hey, look, there's a guy up in the stands. He's got a full-face helmet on, a full snowmobile helmet on. I look up there and say, hey, that's my brother. So, I mean, not everybody gets their brother to come with a full-face helmet and a shield that lifts up. Maybe there was some alcohol drank, but just to stay warm because it was cold. So, thank you to my family for coming. Oh, that was great. Let's see. Then I got to thank my immediate family. Did not know me in college. We met after college. But it's been 27 years that my wife Sheila's lived with this Concordia product. We have kids ages Nick, Ben, and Jojo, or Johanna, 26 to 20. We've traveled all over many miles to their different activities. They played in all the sports. Tried to coach them through, just like our coaches did here, you know, get all these different kids together, try to bring the best out of them. Just had a lot of good times doing that. And a lot of times we tried to duplicate what we all got from Concordia. Sometimes we laugh about it, but yet, hey, it's true. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, this is thanks Terry. Where's Terry? Over here. He said, Russ, this is your only opportunity. You get to stand in front of them, and everybody's got to listen to you. So, as I was growing up, I used some quotes. I went to Otter basketball camp, and one thing on the wall said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you land on a star. So we always set our goal. I always set my goals pretty high, and a lot of times you go in after the season with Coach Christopherson, and he says, what are your goals for next year? Well, my first goal, when I was a freshman, we had probably 50 freshmen come out, and people were handing out the awards. You get out their first freshman, and nothing against Sonny, but Sonny didn't know my name, so I said Russ Winkels, you know, and they said, oh yeah, here's your award, thank you. And I go across Christopherson's office, says, what's your goal? I said, well, before I leave here, Sonny Gelswick's going to know my name. Everybody on your coaching staff will know my name. That's probably not a bad goal, Russ. And I think development is still important. It's not necessarily where you start, it's where you finish. And thank you for that. I think being here, I may have landed on the moon. Truly an honor, and thank you very much. Appreciate it. Notice Rachel wore black today. Found out today, yesterday was Rachel's 40th birthday. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to start a happy birthday. Yeah. It's a day late. That's all we got. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rachel. Happy birthday to you.
My goal with black is slimming, not oh wow, you know, I'm oftentimes known as Bucky's daughter or Sonny Galsvig's granddaughter, and I truly believe that's a wonderful thing to be known for. But it just warms my heart when I get to hear stories at a banquet like this about my grandpa Sonny. So I have really appreciated hearing all of those tonight. But what an impressive group of inductees that have now officially joined our Concordia College Athletic Hall of Fame. So congratulations once again to Katie, John, Tracy, Kelly, Jim, and Russ. Let's give them another round of applause. With a Bible verse from the book of James, chapter 1, verse 17, that every gift is a gift from God. Inductees, you all are a gift to Concordia College. I hope that you leave here tonight knowing that Concordia is proud of you and truly grateful that you all chose to be Cobbers. Hall of Famers, we ask that you stick around for some photos up front here by the stage before you scatter for the rest of your evening. But I want to thank you all for coming tonight. And my kids tell me that instead of ending my speech with Soli Deo Gloria, it really should be roll calls. So roll calls.